The internet is on fire for seed oils. Some folks act like opening a can of Crisco is like inviting a villain into your kitchen. They treat beef tallow like liquid gold, and then they treat Crisco like radioactive waste. But friend, while they argue on Facebook, I'm over here building a suit of armor for my skillet. It's a shield tougher than a $2 steak. And today, I'm gonna show you why these so-called pantry villains might just be the unsung heroes in your kitchen. And I know what you're thinking. A man from East Texas should be talking about beef tallow or using lard. But friend, I'm here to tell you that the old ways of doing things might just be letting your skillet down. And we are tackling 3 things today. First, the chemistry behind the shield. Second, the Lodge factory secret. And 3, why that oil that you've been using might just be rotting in your pan. So let's get into it. Friends, I've had this Lodge for 8 years. And when I first got it, I didn't know how to season it any better than an infant knows how to drive a car. So I decided to use bacon grease. So I left that bacon grease in a mason jar in the fridge, and that's what I use to season my cast iron, but I was only cooking on it for maybe once a week. And then I remember the day that I opened that jar. It had a smell somewhere in between a wet dog and dirty gym socks. The grease had went south, and here I was thinking I was building a shield for my cast iron. But that fat was already starting to spoil, and I didn't even know it. And once you smell that funk, you can't unsmell the truth. And then I decided to switch to Crisco. It stays stable. It doesn't stink. And it gives me a black, smooth-like finish every time. Think about animal fats like these blocks. They are saturated. And Grandma used something like them because her pan never left the stove. But for most of us, these fats are like a grumpy grandpa at a family reunion. And they are stubborn and they're set in their ways. And also, they're prone to going rancid if they stay in the dark too long. And if you don't heat it up just right, that leftover grease is gonna turn sour. Now, we're moving on to the blue blocks. These blocks are like Crisco. Now this is where it gets fun. These are unsaturated magnets. The second the heat hits them, they start looking for a connection. And friends, they lock into that shield fast. Crisco is engineered to be shelf stable. It builds a wall that stays fresh and tough, even if you only cook in it once a week. This is not a pile of grease anymore. It's a structural masterpiece. And if you think I'm crazy, take it up with Lodge. They have been doing this since 1896, and they're not in the back room rendering bacon fat. And in fact, my friend, they use 100% soybean-based vegetable oil. And why, you might ask? Because they want that pan to arrive at your house with a clean shield and not from a funky smell of oil that's spoiled on the shelf. And hey, if it's good enough for South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, well, it's good enough for me, my friends. Now, here we go. People scream, Heath, inflammation! And trust me, I know what you're thinking. You don't want toxic oils in your foods? Friends, we're seasoning skillets, not a rack of ribs. Once these blue blocks lock together, the oil is gone. Now, it's a polymer. You can't leach oil out of a solid wall any more than you could get a glass of milk out of a cow that's been turned into a boot. It's chemistry. It's not magic. David Copperfield's not here. Now, before you get all riled up, just remember I'm the messenger. My bacon grease went bad in the jar, but my Crisco stays rock solid. And it's okay if you disagree with me, just as long as your pan is right in the end. And just a reminder, I'm not talking about using this to cook with. If you want something safe to cook with, you might consider using something like avocado oil. But really, in the end, that's between you and your doctor. But for me, when it comes to seasoning, I lean to that blue can every time. And let me know in the comments what your go-to seasoning is. And in the meantime, friend, keep seasoning.